Well, welcome back, everybody. Round 3 of the World Scrabble Championship going to be presented to y'all. This round, we feature Yi An Tay from Singapore versus Leslie Charles of Trinidad and Tobago. So lots of different players, 28 countries from across the world being represented at this English Scrabble Championship. Once again, this is Matt Canik on commentary, joined by the great Mina Lay. Mina, what are you excited for in this matchup?
I think just the same things as usual. I mean, these are a lot of players that I'm not familiar with, so I'm just excited to see more great Scrabble. This is just really fun to get to participate in this long distance because it's the first World Championship on North American soil in over 2 decades. We have 28 countries, like you said. Each country is able to establish its own criteria for who they want to send to represent them, and so it's just really fun to see the diversity. And yeah, part of why I switched to playing the International English Lexicon back in 2015 was I thought hopefully someday I'd be able to play abroad, and actually haven't made it further than Canada yet, but I still nurture the hope that once both of my kids are old enough that I'll be able to get out there and be able to interact with some of these diverse players, because that's what's really great about Scrabble. Is it's like a family. It's a family like community all around the world. And people with different walks of life, different professions and backgrounds, but all drawn together by their love of this word game, the language, the strategy. It's awesome.
It's such an awesome game and so many opportunities to travel, play both in the country, in the continent for us in North America, but also overseas. Of course, a global pandemic had to get in the way of some international travel for a while, but
Yep.
good to see that players are back playing Scrabble around the world, and Yi An Tay to play first, drawing a blank on the first rack, but also 6
Ugh,
consonants.
not
Yuck.
so
So you get
good.
excited by that blank, but the rest of it's not so much. Mina, in this situation, do you think you would play
Thanks.
NTH? Do you think you would exchange, or do you think you would burn the blank to play
Thanks.
THANX for
Yes,
44?
it depends. Depends on how much more it scores. Can you tell me the scores
Yeah,
with those?
thanks
Thanks.
is 44, nth is 12, and exchanging naturally
Oh,
0.
well, then I love thanks. I think that seems like a no-brainer there. Usually they say that if the blank scores is it 25 points more, then you if by using the blank you score 25 or so more points than you would without the blank, then it's worth using the blank. So even though we normally see the blank only used in bingos, there are plenty of non-bingo turns where it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
yeah, that said, there's only 2 blanks in the whole bay, and maybe burning the blank for 44 isn't quite the wisest move if you tend to be able to cash the blank for 70 and 80 points later. So I really can't blame him for wanting to keep the blank, especially with the R and the S.
Yeah, you can see chat very divided here between nth and thanks. I think both plays are totally fine. Nth maybe some strength because potentially could knock down the X later next turn for big points, and then bingo the turn after. So a good little 3-turn plan. It's always tough to burn a blank too, and it's tough to make weird and non-standard plays on stream as well.
Mhm.
Playing a
That's
blank on the first turn without bingoing,
yeah,
generally players are
a
going to
little
bingo
odd.
at this level when they have a blank. But I think nth is a fine play here.
Yeah.
Chat will argue about this until the end of time, and that's fine. Different players do bring different strategies to competitive Scrabble, and that's the beauty of this game. It's so hard to say what's right or what's wrong unless Nigel Richards draws exactly the same tiles on exactly the same board shape. Then you watch what he does, and that's probably right.
Yeah. This is one of those
Leslie,
rare worlds competitions without Nigel in attendance, however. So we're a
so
little more on
Leslie
our own.
now has to respond. He has the Q and a U to go with it, but no reasonable plays aside from SUQ above NTH, making ST and UH. Leslie instead going to play off his double Fs here, OFF, 18 points, and retain the nice QUS combination, looking to score some points next turn. Yiante into that blank X combination picks up a Y, making things rather awkward. ERSSXY blank. But there is an incredible bingo out of this rack,
What?
and it fits as a double
Oh my
double.
gosh.
The beautiful XYSTERS plays for 124 points.
Wow. And that's another one of those, we were talking about medical words that I've never heard in real life. This is another one of those medical terms that I have never seen used in the operating room. Maybe it's obsolete by now.
A surgical instrument for scraping bones.
Yeah, I have scraped
Interesting.
bones, but not with a zister.
There's
But yeah,
one.
that's an incredible thing to come up with if you
I
can
did
find
not
it.
know that word, I'll be
No,
honest.
I did not know this word either.
But also one other playable bingo, Syrinxes, Syrinxes, plays through the N in nth. There's also the very nice play of SEXY and OFFY. That scores 41 and holds RS blank. So, in the absence of knowing the word zisters, which again I didn't know, sexy and offy for 41 looks like a solid option as well. We'll see if Yeon knows this word, zisters, for 124 would be devastating. Leslie's drawn a bingo of his own using the N and nth. He'll be able to play quinones, another medical chemical word. So we've got the doctor, Mina, on stream talking about zisters, and the pharmacist, Matt, on stream talking about quinones and other chemical compounds. Appropriate commentary team for the
Yeah.
words these players are drawing. Although, I couldn't tell you what a quinone is, and Mina apparently couldn't tell you what a zister is.
And I'll tell you even more embarrassingly, when I saw that, I pronounced it Quinonius in my head. I think that's a common Latin American surname with
Yeah,
a
yeah.
with a tilde over one of the ends.
Yeah, one of my fellow teachers when I was teaching high school was a Miss Quinones. So yes,
Okay, so you've
interesting.
seen it,
But
yeah.
all
That was
right,
the first
so
thing I thought of. All right, Yex, not
you
bad.
going
I
to
think
come
if you're
down
not
to
going to know Zisters, getting rid of the Y and the X makes sense on that move. Keep a strong lead.
Leslie Quinones set up on his rack. I expect him to pull the trigger on this one pretty quickly, given that he's arranged his tiles that way. And here it comes. Quinones going to come down a 71-point bingo to put Leslie ahead in this game. But Yeon with a very nice draw. EIORSS blank, definitely going to bingo this turn. You can see he's already set up the nice soirees on his rack, SOIREES, and now going to look for his highest scoring bingo on this rack. The best bingo, when I've got nice racks like this, I always look for the highest scoring opportunities, and I see two of those. Underlapping QI. Oh my God, Leslie didn't play quinones. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. QIN comes down instead. Okay, QIN comes down instead. Yeon, I'm looking to make my highest scoring bingo here. So underlapping QIN, making a word ending in SES or SIS, or looking to double through the E, back hooking off with one of my S's. Both options are available for him, I believe. I'd also like to see that blank be made an X. Xerosis, XEROSIS, plays underneath nth, making QIN and OHS as well as TI. That'd be cool to play two X's in 2 turns. A nice little flex on stream, show that word knowledge off. But a more pedestrian word, rosaries through the E in Yex plays as a double here. It's very tough to play with racks this good as there are so many options that it's tough to find the best one. And again, very tough to play on stream. The nerves get to you. The yips, for those who like baseball in chat, get to you. And it's easy to miss stuff that players would otherwise see as you get in your own head. Leslie is going to have his own double if Yeon is unable to block this. The beautiful Houseman plays through the E and EX. So amazing and high scoring opportunities for both of these players. We'll see if they're able to find them and make these plays. They're tough to spot.
Something with SES under QIN and making QINS, TE, and OHS. Looks like is that going to be the highest scoring lane for sevens?
For sevens, yes.
Yeah. If you don't see eights. Yeah.
Words like viroses, trioses, riboses, lots of options that fit there. But rosaries would be the best, highest scoring bingo. The overlaps, the sevens, QINS words score 80, the double to score 88. So a tense moment here as Yeon looks to bingo, instead going to play OIS above Yex, forming Ox. So that's going to score 13 points, hold ERS, keep this board good and tight, and crucially block housemen from Leslie's rack.
That's the best thing that it does. It does open up things a little bit. It provides an extra S to play through in the next move. Keeps a good lead.
Oh, Yeon picks it back up. He had not hit his clock, stares at it for a while, and perhaps he's going to take just a little bit more time to continue looking for the bingos out of this rack.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here it comes. OIS, and the clock has been hit this time. That will be the official play from Yeon, and we'll put him ahead 54-50, blocking Leslie's bingo. Leslie has nothing playable now and probably has a dilemma on his hand. It's tough when your opponent strings an S out there for just one additional point. OI also valid. What kind of inferences can you make from that play? How scared should you be next turn? A lot for Leslie to think about here.
Yeah, Matt's right. You pretty much would never play an S for an extra point unless you had a consonant heavy rack keeping an S behind. Otherwise, it pretty much would never happen.
Yeah, so if I'm Leslie, I infer my opponent definitely has one S and maybe even two.
Maybe even more, yeah.
HOX, a valid word, so a play like UH and HOX, or HO and HOX, both playing atop, are good options for Leslie here. Could also look to set up his own S playing underneath EX, something like HOM, scoring quite well, forming EH and OXO. EH would set up his S, but again, you have to make that inference that your opponent also has an S. Apologies, I thought EH took an S in Collins. It does not. But Leslie going to score a lot of points here. HM crushed that triple word score, 26 points. And ENOSU may lead to a bingo next turn, also keeping this board nice and tight. I wonder if we've ever had a Scrabble board with this shape before. This little weird snaky
Looks just like a worm picking its head up at the end.
I always wonder that, obviously first, second, third move, certainly a board has had exactly this shape before, but how far can you go in a game before there has never been a board with exactly the same shape? Not necessarily the words, but just tiles in these positions. I doubt we've seen this one before in a tournament game.
It is an unusual one for sure.
Very interesting little snake here.
To respond to what you said, Matt, EH does take an S in Collins. It means to say just like
Oh, I'm on NWL. I thought it did. Okay, I thought I was losing my mind. EH does take the S. Okay, apologies to those at home. Yes, see, I switched my tab over to CSW. It does take the S.
Yeah.
So the super cool bingo Shroomers plays from the SH. I don't think I ever would have had the confidence to play that, but that's awesome. A 9-letter bingo.
Wow.
Troopers, also a very sad 59-point bingo from the tee. But it's with the rack promising like this, you don't want a bingo for 59 and string an S out on that triple triple. So ROO coming down once again. Eon going to hold the powerful ERS blank, and we'll see if he's able to grab some points, maybe a high scoring bingo from the N next turn. Although Leslie, AELNOSU, has his own bingo from the N, Melanus, and he is wasting no time before he drops this down. Nicely spotted by Leslie. Melanus to score 83 points and a may draw challenge as well, +5. We'll see. Leslie not drawing his tiles yet, so probably on hold. With the 5-point challenge rule, I would challenge almost anything that looks even slightly unfamiliar at all times. So it would be totally justifiable to throw 5 points or give a nickel to Leslie out of this situation as well.
Yep, looks like the challenge is coming.
So challenge is coming. Of course, we at home with the anagram machines know that this is valid. So +5 for Leslie. That'll put him ahead at 164 to 70. But Yeon still with great tiles on his rack. DERRSY blank. It's going to be tough to score out of this rack as well. Just one playable bingo for him, and that is Yarders, YARDERS, with forming ERS. That looks kind of strange to me. What would a yarder even be? One who yards?
One who drafts animals to a sale yard. Yeah, I would not have guessed. Yeah, so a lot of these words in the Scrabble dictionary are very hard to use in a sentence or in real life. A little discussion in the chat about who makes it into this event. So this is an invitational event by qualification. So the way it works is WESPA is the governing body for English language Scrabble worldwide. Associations can choose to join, and then each national association is given a quota based on their past performance. So the largest quotas were given to Australia, Canada, England, Nigeria, and the United States. Each of those with double-digit contingents. But each country who's a member gets a quota, and they are responsible for setting their own qualification criteria to put together their representative team in whatever way they choose.
We see in chat, I don't have much information on Yeon or any of these international players, but Yeon apparently just began playing Scrabble competitively a year ago. I know a year into my Scrabble playing career, I was rated about 500. And so for Yeon to be carrying an international rating already of 1,300 after just a year into this game, that's still rather impressive.
Yep, I agree. Definitely. It's on parallel with what I see from not to stereotype too much, but from a lot of young men players, we see very stratospheric climbs very quickly, as a lot of these people feel at home in this game and feel motivated to study and have the time to study. So.
And to be a university student, university,
Yes.
a lot of things going on as well. So to take
things,
any time to devote to a board game at all is a tall task.
Yeah.
Yeon aggravating over where to play dryers. Do I want to block this S and stop my opponent from hitting it, or do I want to leave it open for myself? It's a tough decision here.
We hear from Stefan Fatsis in the chat, author of the New York Times best-selling book Word Freak, which definitely recommend you check out if you're unfamiliar with Word Freak, an amazing journalistic deep dive into the culture of competitive Scrabble. Stefan Fatsis also confirms that Yeon is a university student who just started playing.
Stefan's book also instrumental in bringing me to the game. I don't think I ever would have entered a Scrabble tournament had I not read that when I was 11 years old. That's what brought me to the scene. And
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and Stefan's just a class act and a great guy. If you haven't had the opportunity to meet him yet, you're in for a treat when you do. Thanks for all you've done for the game, Stefan.
Oh yeah, he's written so many articles for Slate and other outlets, bringing attention and bringing new people into the game. It's pretty amazing. Beyond that, his daughter is one of the rising top experts in the game, Chloe Fatsis.
Chloe is really turned on her A game recently, jumped to expert and even top expert rating in just a few years, used the pandemic to her advantage, locked down and studied a lot of words. And I had her on commentary for the Scrabble Players Championship, tried to get her on for this event as well. But, some people have jobs and school and things, not me. All I do is sit here and talk about Scrabble into a microphone all day, every day, like a real big baller.
I love it.
Ooh, nice. Cadiz sneaks in real nicely here. A good way to score a lot of points for Leslie and get this board a little bit open up. You can front hook that IF with a D or an R to score some points. Maybe cash in that blank for a bingo in a turn or two on a board that's otherwise really tight. And Yeon now drawing R blank GGERS. I would have a hard time pulling the trigger on this, as riggers or ruggers both kind of look like words, as does raggers. And I'm not sure what I would designate the blank here as. They all look like they might be valid. We'll try to get a confirmation from our overhead team on site what that blank is.
I only knew riggers. I'm looking it up now, and ruggers is a rugby player, so that's why I wouldn't have heard of that term. Rugby not being a big thing in the United States. Someone has posted in the chat that standings are now available while we're waiting. So,
and confirmation that the blank is an I, so this will be an acceptable word for Yeon. I think I might have made it an A in that situation and lost a turn. So very nicely done. 72 points for Yeon, able to take advantage of that blank, and that'll pull him to within just a few points. I think our score bug may be a little bit off. I have the score at 171 to 190 in Yeon's favor. I'm sorry, in Leslie's favor. Leslie with the clunky rack here, CELPTW blank. Of course, you always want that blank on your rack, but not with a bunch of awkward tiles. So clues or plues, both good options to play down to the S. And Leslie wasting no time to play plues. I like holding the C here. The C is a great tile to play
C is a
bingos.
wonderful tile.
And with the blank on my rack, bingos are what I'm thinking about doing next turn. So plues coming down, that'll be 42 points, a big counter to the bingo he was just hit with. As Yeon, another bingo prone rack, ABEILOT. I'd spend some time here trying to find one, but my anagrammer tells me there are no available options for him. He'll also likely spend a little bit of time here, as he does throw a nickel at plues, challenging it. Again, challenge anything you're not sure of when it's just 5 points.
Yep. A beaver skin in this case, but absolutely. I actually really like the 5-point challenge rule because I feel like it evens the playing field. It makes the game more accessible for lower rated players to not get taken advantage of by top experts trying to pull one over on them.
Yeah, I go both ways, and I'll kind of compound on this a little bit as this game hits a bit of a lull. Yeon probably going to spend some time on this turn, but in North American play, typically a different challenge rule is used, and I believe it's a challenge rule from the box rules of Scrabble. The challenge rule is double challenge, meaning if I challenge your word and it is invalid, I lose. You lose your turn. You have to pick it back up. But if I challenge your word and it is valid, I lose my whole turn and you get to go again. So challenges are huge and pivotal. It's very hard to challenge words in double challenge, whereas 5-point I do feel makes the game a little bit more accessible. If something looks a little unfamiliar, I'll challenge it. It's 5 points, and if it's no good, it comes off the board. So a big trade-off for me. Makes challenging a lot easier. In North American play, sometimes you will see players take advantage of the challenge rule. I know I certainly have played phonies on purpose, but I don't do it to rack up spread points. I won't do it in a game where I'm, 90% to win. There are a few players out there, though, who will. It's a question of sportsmanship versus gamesmanship versus doing everything you can to win. I'm personally not that guy, but other people out there are, and it makes it a huge bummer. Honestly, kind of shame on those players, in my personal opinion. I just want everybody to come out and have fun and play the game. There are typically in Scrabble tournaments too, there are divisions. So the expert level division is what we're seeing here. And you'll see some of the best players in the world in that division, but new players are typically insulated from that. Usually 2, 3, 4, even 5 divisions at tournaments. And you're paired with players similar to your ratings. But there are open tournaments sometimes, a format usually announced well in advance. And players with low ratings, players newer to the game, sometimes taken advantage of by higher rated players. But I'm not one who likes to do that, though there are those people out there.
Happy to hear that. Yeah, I just feel like Double Challenge just places way too much emphasis on being absolutely sure of words, and I don't know. It's just hard. It's tens of thousands of words out there. It's just very hard to have the stakes be that high for losing a challenge.
So we got our score bug widget corrected 185 to 273, the score in Leslie's favor. And Leslie has spotted a nice bingo on his rack, Crownet, Crownet. Although unfortunately for him, it will not fit on this board. And he's going to be stuck making a mediocre intermediate play out of a rack that looked so promising for him.
Nothing along the bottom, right? People are saying that's a nice place for nines later in this game. Nines ending with ES.
Yeah, great line for nines. In case what I said was misinterpreted, I absolutely play phonies on purpose from time to time again, but I usually do it when I am losing a game and need that kind of variance to catch back up. I will never do it when ahead by 150 to try to get ahead by 250. I might play words I'm unsure of because I'm unsure of a lot of words, but I will never play an intentional phony on purpose to rack up spread. Nigerians in the chat pointing out that typically in Africa they play tournaments with 10-point challenge. I find like that's a happy medium where challenging is rather consequential. You lose 10 points, not just 5, but still keeps the game reasonably accessible to players. So perhaps that's a happy medium. And I mentioned this during Scrabble Players Championship on stream, but I would love to see multiple majors in Scrabble, similar to tennis. In tennis, they have tournaments on grass, on composite, on clay. I'd love to see Scrabble tournaments with different challenge rules, some with double, some with 5-point, some with 10-point, just to keep things fresh and interesting.
My dream is still to have a cosplay Scrabble tournament. I think that'd be really fun if everybody had to show up in the costume of their choice.
And you get more points for your bingos depending on how good your costume is.
No, but it just adds fun. It just adds color. Otherwise, it would be a straightforward tournament. But I think that'd be fun. More creative variants like that.
So Crown going to come down here. That's a great play by Leslie to shut down this board. That C is going to be good and defensive. We'll have a hard time now moving to the left side of this board. And with the lead that he has, a perfectly reasonable decision. Excuse me. AACEIT blank the rack for Yi on. And not many great scoring opportunities. Perhaps a play alongside Plues. APER plays nicely. Also some high scoring opportunities for 3-letter words. A play of CAA at the bottom right is a good option, forming a do and you, AYU, but not too many ways to score out of this rack. He's looking to keep his rack reasonably flexible to try to get a bingo soon.
Yeah, I'd also be worried about how closed the board is. The fact that you can't front hook RIF, the fact that it's going to be very hard to underlap crown unless you have the H for the CH. You need to keep that 9 lane at the bottom ending in ES. You need to keep that open because you desperately need it.
A high-scoring play down from the R in Crown would be another way to open this board back up if you're able to find a 6, and yet it's not on the cards for Yi on. These letters look rather flexible, and yet I'm not seeing any good plays down from that R. See, we've got some chat on different outfits. I think your cosplay tournament idea struck a chord with chat. We want to shout out one more time that the team from Nigeria rocking some awesome outfits today. So if you haven't seen those, keep an eye out for them on the back of the stream. And certainly there will be photos to come from these tournaments. But really cool stuff. I see AA coming down. That's going to score 14, more than 18 points for Yeon, and leave that ES line available for him as well. We'll see what he's able to pull.
Yeah, it'd be great to see him take advantage of that 9 lane for sure.
Leslie does have a playable bingo in the 9s lane. I will
really?
not say it just yet. I'll let chat figure this one out, but one cool option, a tough spot though.
I'm working without an anagram or something ending in ITIES, ITIES.
Yep.
Oh, he gave up on his 9 so quickly. Come on.
Rebite coming down, not a past tense of bite, or not biting again. Rebite only takes the back S, probably not pronounced rebite either, but if somebody does know what that word means or how to pronounce it, let me know. My Collins lexicon does not have definitions loaded in it. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, mine does for whatever reason, and it's a term from engraving, to freshen a plate by a new application of acid.
So it is a verb, but it doesn't take a D. It's got to be rebitten, which, okay, that makes sense too.
Rebitten, yeah.
So Rebite opens the board for Leslie, and he'll look to capitalize now on this blank. Yeon making the nice spot at Epitome, but alas, no spot for it.
Where? Yeah. Yeah, you can see that as a game evolves, knowing 8s becomes much more important than knowing 7s, unfortunately. So the 9 was ebrieties, the drunkennesses.
Sobriety and ebriety, I suppose, are opposites. So ebriety, drunkenness, and there will likely be some ebriety from certain players at this tournament, as Las Vegas is a place where they make that very easy to obtain.
Yeah.
And those unfamiliar with the American gambling scene, casinos will serve you alcohol for free as long as you were gambling there. They know that they have an advantage on the slots or on the cards or on the dice, and try to entice you to stay there and put as much money on the table as possible. Yet for these Scrabble players, likely not a lot of free alcohol as they're fixated on this tournament. Day one, tournament is wide open. You want to be as focused as you can.
For sure.
I don't know. Different players get different things from Scrabble. Some people use it specifically as an excuse to travel to different fun places, and they'll play in the tournament, maybe with no expectation of winning. And that's a totally valid and healthy approach to the game. Others do everything they can to try to win every tournament, study for hours a day, every day. Your relationship with this game is whatever you want it to be, and it is totally valid to do whatever you want.
And for that to change over time as well.
Absolutely. You may find yourself fall in love with the game and want to get better and better and keep challenging yourself to learn more words. Some people, myself included, just like to pick up the words through osmosis. If I play for 15 years, I'll slowly see more and more and more stuff. And that's pretty cool. So Yeon doing what I do a lot when I see a cool word, even if it doesn't play as a bingo, I just want to play it anyway. And Epitome does come down. Nicely spotted for him. And that's going to be 12 points holding onto an E as Leslie AEI-NUV blank on his rack, looking to bingo here. And there are a few bingos playable, but they are all rather tough to spot. Another 5-valve 8 we may see on stream in Duvier, INDUVIAE, plays through the I in Rebite. That is 80 points, his highest scoring bingos. There are several others available, one using the B in Rebite, one using the E in Epitome, and 2 using the L in Blog. So I'll let you all use this as a little puzzle as Leslie tries to solve the same puzzle at the same time.
I like what you said about osmosis, Matt, because I find studying so boring. I know that I need to learn more words. I have very, very sad word knowledge for a 1700 player, but it's just so dull. It's just there's so many other things to do in life as well. But it's great to be involved with things like this. Like this allows me to commentating here. It allows me to stay involved, give back to the scene, and not have had to study or cram or prepare a lot in advance, which is nice.
Leslie solving the puzzle, very good. Unviable, a 74 point bingo playing through the B. You don't often look to bingo through a B, and yet Leslie spotting that here. Also nicely bingoing out of VUI. Some pretty
Yeah,
ugly tiles together. 74 points for Leslie is going to give him a 150 point lead in this game. 365 to 215 our score now, as Yeon's got some great scoring tiles here, and he's going to cash in quickly. The epitome play setting up the Z that he's drawn, and he's going to cash in nicely, 67 points for SEZ. So Yeon with a nice play of his
sweet.
own to counter the bingo he was just hit with.
It's the beauty of the Z.
The Z is such an awesome tile, especially in the Collins lexicon. ZA, ZE, and ZO are all valid words. And a lot of the time in this game, one of those is going to let you play it for 40, 50, 60 points. That's what Yeon capitalizes on here. As Leslie, ADDNRUU. Yuck. But hey, when you're ahead by a bingo on a board that's rather tight, I think you're okay with a draw like that. We'll get the unseen pool on display as well. No S's in the bag means that Leslie doesn't have to worry about bingos perhaps making QINS and TEC. All he really has to do is maybe block the floating B and the L in blog, and he's likely to coast to a victory in this game. For those in the chat talking, they don't perhaps like my pronunciation of the last letter of the alphabet. Because this tournament is hosted in America, the last letter of the alphabet is Z.
That's
When
right. It's
Canada,
whatever we say it
where
is.
else in the world gets it, I will say Z. And until then, that is a Z. The Z is a great tile in Scrabble.
Seeing some movement of the enhanced scoreboard now, if we want to talk about that.
Yeah, we've got this. We've got
Number of
got some results coming in now. So who is 3-0 so far?
Yeah, 3 people are 3-0. We've got Olatunde Oduwole of Nigeria, 3-0 plus 442, followed very closely by Ben Schonbrun from the United States and Yeo Kin Hung of Malaysia. It's nice to see Ben finally made it out there. He had some flight mishaps that forced him to miss the North American Scrabble Championship the weekend before. So it's good to see him cashing in on his finally making it to Vegas there.
Yeah, we're all happy to see Ben able to make it out to here. And Olatunde, not surprising to me at all that he's atop these standings, as he played one of the most solid games I've seen on stream at the Scrabble Players. Excuse me. Was it at the Scrabble Players Championship? I believe it was.
Yeah,
A great, well thought out game by him. Many players still at 2-0. Many players still at 2-0. We'll see who else joins them at 3-0. But each of those players scoring over 530 points last round. Fireworks aplenty here at the World Scrabble Championship.
Yeah. Three former world champions here. Many elite players. Someone mentioned that the field is so stacked that a rating of only 2,000 means you're not one of the top seeds.
Yeah, man, many of the best players in the world here. Things will be very interesting, especially as we go to days 3 and 4 of this tournament. I'm so excited to watch it. And Leslie has drawn the nice bingo Vulturn, Vulturn. He set it up on his rack. He has seen it. That, I believe, was another word that came up in the finals of the SPC between David Eldar and Wellington Jagiri, played as a bingo with an S at the end. Leslie's found it here, but will not have a spot unless Yeon somehow manages to open one up. And it'll be harder for him to do that with an ugly rack like he's got here. 134 players playing in the World Scrabble Championship from 28 different countries. So exciting to see the representation and the plethora of talent here. Yeon cashing in his J-U-G. Doesn't hit it quite as hard as the Z or the Z. I'll fight you on that all tournament, I'm sure. And Vulturn not going to play for Leslie. Outside of that, this is a pretty nasty rack for him. But at this situation in the game, you've got a good grasp on the board. You're probably okay. I might just play VULN through the Ellen blog and pack my bags, call it a day, as this board is dead after that.
Yeah, I think that sounds like the right move for sure. There it goes.
Yep, there he goes. And this one largely is over. It's Leslie Charles of Trinidad and Tobago going to increase his record to 2-1. This is a third of 4 games we'll broadcast in the morning session of the World Scrabble Championship. We will be cutting to break after the 4th game as these players go explore some of the numerous incredible food options in Las Vegas, Nevada. Play will resume at 2:30 p.m. Las Vegas time or Pacific time. That's 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. And I will let you do the time zone adjustments from there, but a slightly shorter lunch break in this tournament, as there are 8 games per day as opposed to the 7 we saw in the Scrabble Players Championship last week.
Allows people to get the biggest bang for their buck, Trevor, because some of these people are coming from very, very far away, probably multiple layovers for some of them. So it's nice to be able to get 8 games a day and a 32-game main event for them.
32 games is a lot of Scrabble. I know my brain would start to turn off towards the end, and yet for these diehards, 32 wasn't enough. Several of these players doing both parts of the double down, playing 31 games last week, some even playing in the last chance qualifier yesterday or other side events yesterday as well. How much Scrabble is enough Scrabble?
Pretty impressive. Yeah, I don't think I could do that many games back to back. It's a strangely draining activity for something where you're just sitting on your butt for long periods of time. Like, I have felt physically drained after multi-day Scrabble tournaments.
And yet, despite the lack of physical activity this game requires, so much mental energy expended on many of these games, many of these turns, trying to find words, trying to block lines, trying to track the tiles.
For sure.
It's sort of a two-pronged tournament. Of course, each player here wants to be the best player in the world, wants to increase their rating as much as possible. But there's also sort of a team event where countries together, all players from a country, have their records sort of combined. So curious to see not just what country claims the world championship or which player claims the world championship, but which country as a team does the best. Of course, the United States on their home soil has a lot of representation, but Canada hosting many great players. Nigeria, such a strong scene as well. Australia's got some very solid players here. Of course, the UK with many solid players as well. I honestly have no idea who's going to win that one.
For sure. Plus the natural variance of the game. You know, like I keep saying this every major tournament. There's just so much variance and luck factor that there's always going to be people who are very well prepared, very strong, who just don't do well because there isn't room for everybody who deserves to do well to do well.
And the way these tournaments are paired too, players who are at the top play other players at the top. If two players are 7-2, they're likely to play each other. This is not like, competitive baseball or football where your schedule is preset at the beginning of a tournament. And so you see these elite players very quickly by the end of day one, the start of day two, are playing almost entirely a slate of other elite players. One of them has to lose every game. So, it's such a pressure cooker at these tournaments. Leslie taking his time in these situations, you like to go out in two, meaning you want to make just two more plays this game. So he's trying to find a sequence that he can play maybe 4 tiles and hold 3 tiles that he can put down all together next turn. On a board like this, that's going to be a big ask, as there aren't many lines left to play. Players largely exhausted this board. So Leslie to play Ulan here, holding AERT, likely has a plan for those tiles next turn. And Yeon, I can't find really from the tile bag 3 eyes on his rack this turn. So he'll just look to do what he can, play off as many of these tiles as he can, and Leslie likely to go out next turn with AERT.
Yeah, the strategy here is always to have 2 places to play those final tiles on your rack so that if your opponent takes one spot, you have the other one. Anybody in the chat want to tell us where Leslie's possible outs are? Or want to work on that as a puzzle?
I see one. I'm not seeing the second one.
Yeah, I'm not seeing them yet.
And yet perhaps you just expect Yeon to give you another. His tile's so inflexible. Maybe he just scores some points and gives you a second spot. Or, the one that he does have, REATA down to the A in Kati, hard to block. And if you do block it, you're probably giving another out instead. You're probably stringing one of those I's out there or one of those N's out there.
Good point. And you have so many things like rate, tear, and tier that are likely to be able to overlap. Yeah, and here's where I said it's wise to keep 5 minutes for the end game because with a little over 30 seconds left, Yeon's running out of time swiftly.
So round 4, our final round before lunch, we will see players from Malaysia and Romania featured here on board 1. That'll be rather exciting as well. And that'll be our final game before the lunch break, as well as our final game with the great Mina Lei on commentary.
Pleasure to be here, but I'm happy that you guys will get to see very many different co-commentators over the course of the next few days, get to hear different people's perspectives. Matt Canik has been super awesome as the anchor so far. He has given so much of his time anchoring the entire stream for the North American Scrabble Championship and the entire stream for the Worlds this coming week. It's really awesome to benefit from Matt's insights and commentary.
Yeah, we will see how much my voice holds up, as I've already done 1 week of commentary and I have another week yet to go. We'll see how much y'all can hold up listening to me over and over and over. Get tired of my voice and my same poor dad jokes, but you are stuck with me. And if you don't like it, I guess you can push the mute button. So with that, we have the end of our 3rd game. Again, our next round featuring players from Malaysia and Romania. We will be back in a few short minutes from hot Las Vegas, Nevada. Once again, Matt Canik, joined by Mina Lei. And
Thanks so much.
we will be back shortly. Don't go anywhere.
Yep, hang around. See you soon.